She see money all around me. I look like I'm...
Hello and welcome back for another video. This one, things gonna get a little wild. Well, not really wild, but they gonna get real juicy. Okay, this is gonna be part of my college advice series. But it's not gonna be like my last video. This is gonna be more of a story time with a life lesson at the end, or really scattered with life lessons all throughout. So without further ado, we're just gonna get right into it. So this story starts off at freshman orientation. There was a girl that I met. I was the first one she met. She was the first one I met, and her name was Sydney. For anonymity's sake, we're gonna call her Sydney. Sydney and I texted throughout the summer, blah blah blah. We planned on being roommates, but the way that it worked out, we ended up being in the same building but not in the same room, which was a blessing in disguise in hindsight, because Lord knows if we had been roommates, we would have definitely had a big blowout, because the stuff that was happening in our friendship was just wild. School started. Me and Sydney spent a lot of time together. We were literally together 24/7. And the first thing that started to kind of bother me about her was how clingy she was. And for me, I'm a very unemotional, kind of detached person when it comes to like clinginess and stuff like that. Like, that's not me. I'm complete opposite. I don't like being under someone 24/7, and she liked that. That was her thing. So that was the first thing that kind of started to bother me about her. And the next thing that started to like let me know that something was not right with this girl was when, you know, it's freshman year, you're just out of your parents' house, you want to go out, you want to stay out later than you know usually were allowed to at home and stuff like that. So naturally I wanted to go out and party, and at first she was down with it. She would go out, but it became a problem because she had a boyfriend and I did not, and her boyfriend would tell her that she wasn't allowed to go out, and so in turn she would expect me to stay in and not go out because she could not go out per her boyfriend's request. And that became an issue with me very quickly, because I was like, I'm not going to sit in my room and not do what I want to do because he told you can't go out. Like, sorry, not happening. I started to make other friends, and I started to go out with other people besides her. And that's when I realized that this girl might, like, something was not completely right with her. She would like have attitudes because I was hanging out with other people and I was not spending all my time stuck up her butthole, essentially. And that's when I started to like I said, that's when I started to realize, like, wow, what, wow. Yeah, and her boyfriend just wouldn't let her go out. Her boyfriend wouldn't let her wear certain stuff. And to each his own, you know, that's not in my business, that's not my problem. You know, I don't really care what they have going on with their relationship, but your relationship isn't going to dictate my college experience. Sorry. And she didn't understand that. She would catch these little attitudes of me, and the kind of person I am, I'm real chill, laid back. Like, little petty stuff that a lot of females do doesn't bother me, because I just, like, I laugh at it. I don't take anything serious. I'm a real goofy person. So whenever she would catch attitudes at me, I would just like laugh at her and take it as a joke. Cause like, I'm not afraid of anybody, but I'm not a combative person. But don't get it twisted. Now, your girl will turn up when she has to, but I'm not a combative person. If I ever have to get to that point, it has to be like life or death, or like you're threatening my well-being, or my something of importance. Because I'm just not, if you catch a little attitude at me, I'm not gonna be like, oh, let's fight, like, what's up, you know? That's just not me. Anyway, yeah, I started to realize something was wrong with this girl. So around homecoming time, one of my friends came from home to spend homecoming with me, and her boyfriend, we're just gonna name him Tom. Her boyfriend Tom and Tom's friends came down to spend homecoming with her. And before my friend got there, I was hanging out with them. And a lot of the time, all they wanted to do was smoke. I don't smoke. It's never been my thing. That's all they wanted to do. So there really wasn't anything for me to do, because I was just like sitting there while they were smoking and looking for something to smoke. So when my friend got there, we kind of did our own thing. So homecoming night, fast forward, homecoming night, my friend is already here. We're out partying, and her and her boyfriend and his friends are all still hanging out at her room. And mind you, our dorm is not 24 hours, so at midnight the boys are supposed to be out of the dorm, and they were not. So I don't know what time it was. It had to be, have been long after 12, because the RA came upstairs and apparently told them that they had to go. She kicked them out. And so now, mind you, me and my friend are still out, you know, partying, doing homecoming activities. I'm trying to make sure she's having a good time, because this is my city, you know, this isn't where she's from. She's unfamiliar with the place and the people, so I'm trying to make her feel comfortable and make her have a good time. I get a phone call. It has to be like 1 o'clock, 1:30 by this point. I get a phone call, and it's Sydney, and Sydney's like,
can you come back and help me sneak in Tom and his friends, because the RA came and put them out and blah blah blah.
And I'm like no. I'm like, no. And I didn't say this with an attitude or anything. I'm just like, no, like, you want me to stop what I'm doing because they got kicked out? It was very inconsiderate of her to even ask me to like come back, because mind you, I was not on campus. I was out at like at a house party. I don't even remember where I was, honestly. It was a good night, but I think I was at a house party off campus, and she called and was telling me to come back to let them in, and she didn't ask, she told me to come back. And so I was like, girl, no, like, I'm not coming back. And she caught the sickest attitude. She was like,
so you're not coming back? So you're not coming back?
And I'm like, no, I'm not. So we sat on the phone in silence for a minute. She was like,
so you're not coming back?
And I'm like, no. And she's like,
you know what? Okay.
And she hung up the phone in my face. And I didn't think nothing of it, girl. I didn't even care. I was having a good time. She was not about to ruin my night. The point is, I wasn't coming back to campus to help her sneak her friends in. I don't know what they did that night. I didn't ask. I don't care. But she didn't talk to me for like 2 or 3 days because of that. Another example is when we went to Walmart. She drove. I didn't have a car. We went to Walmart. And the only thing that I would buy when I would go to any grocery store is like those little tuna to go packets, the lemon pepper tuna. I would always buy the little $1 packets of tuna. So that was like my thing. I would literally buy like tuna and apple juice. Like that was all I would buy from the grocery store most of the time. And I went in Walmart. That's the first thing I went for. And like I said, she had been spending time in my room, so she knew that that's what I was always eating. And so one day I let her taste it. She was like, oh, these are good. I gotta get some when we go to the store next time. So when we went to Walmart, the first place I went was to the aisle with the tuna on it. And I don't know where she was. She was like behind me or on another aisle or something. So I got to the tuna, and there was like 3 packets of lemon pepper tuna left. So I grabbed them all, and I'm like, dang, what else am I gonna eat? I gotta find something else to eat. And she comes around the corner while I'm putting them into my basket, and she's like, you
need to let me have those. I told you I was trying to go on a diet, and then I wanted to try those, and those are healthy, and you need to give those to me.
And I'm like, girl, what you, like, no. Like, you know that this is all I eat. The only reason you want them is because I eat them. Like, you know that this is like my meals and you want me to give you all of them. So me being a good friend, I'm like, no, you cannot have all of them. It's only 3. You can have 1, but you can't have them all. And so she looks at me and she's like,
no, I want them all. Like, no, I don't want 1. I want them all. You know what? Find a ride home.
So at this point, I said, fine, okay, I will. I said, don't worry about it. And I continued doing my shopping. So in my head, I'm thinking, now if this bitch really leaves me in Walmart, I'm gonna have to fight her. Like, that's so disrespectful. And I know I just said I'm a real chill person, but that is so disrespectful. You don't take me 30 minutes away from campus and tell me you're gonna leave me. Like, how messed up are you? Like, that's just real trifling. Like, she gonna have to shoot me my 1 if she left me. Like, sorry, no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, just shoot me my 1. So she walks off and she does not talk to me the entire trip in Walmart, right? So as I'm about to check out, cause girl, I didn't even bother looking for her. I'm about to check out and I see her walking out of Walmart, and she sees me and she just keeps walking. So I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna beg her to take me back, but if she actually leaves me when I get back to campus, that ass is mine. I check out all that stuff. I go outside I'm not rushing, I'm not running, I'm not trying to chase her down. I'll walk outside casually just to see if her car was still there, and it was. She was sitting in it and it was running. So me being the asshole that I am, I'll walk up to the car and I pull on the door is locked. She looks at me and unlocks the door. And so I get in, I put my stuff in, I get in, and the whole ride back, she doesn't say a word to me. And at this point, I don't even care. Like, I'm over it. It was real petty anyway. So I'm trying to like make small talk. Y'all, this girl ignored me for a week.
Over tuna.
Over a pack of tuna. Y'all, she did not talk to me for a week over a pack of tuna. And that's, at that point, I was like, y'all, this girl is crazy. Like, something's wrong with her. And that was just one thing. Like, I couldn't, oh, y'all, it's so much stuff that happened, and this video would be like 2 hours long if I told y'all everything that she did. But anywho, we're just gonna talk about the real, like, meat of the story. There's this girl from my hometown. I met her, we started hanging out. Her name is Brittany. So me and Brittany become close, and so since me and Brittany are starting to become close, Brittany was hanging out with a group of girls already, so naturally I kind of started to hang out with all of them and not just Brittany. I started hanging out with all of them, and so since I was hanging out with them, naturally Sydney started to hang out with all of them, because like I said, we were spending all our time together. We were together all the time. Once Sydney started to like join the group, I could see the group starting to self-implode around her, and nobody else could see it, and I didn't understand why, but I definitely saw it. I peeped it. I saw it from the jump. So one night, we're just gonna call them Becky and Susie. These are two girls in the friend group. Becky and Susie got into a physical altercation in the room. So after that, it was just kind of like the group fell apart, and it all fell apart around her. The reason that they got into the altercation is unimportant, but they did end up fighting, and Becky was the one that everyone ostracized, or kind of ostracized initially, and everyone was like siding with Susie, and you know what I'm saying, because it was just some stuff happening in the group between those two anyway that was kind of unimportant. But Becky was the one that ended up nobody was really hanging out with her after the fight, and it wasn't because like we weren't friends, like we didn't like her, but she was just kind of like a friend of a friend. She was Susie's friend, like Susie's roommate, so that's the only reason that we were hanging out with her anyway. So once they got into it, it was kind of like a no-brainer that, like, you know, we weren't gonna hang out with her anymore. Some girls in the group did want to remain her friend, and this girl, one girl in particular, we're just gonna call her Unicorn because she's just such a sweetheart. We call her Unicorn in real life anyway. But she was just like, she's a sweetheart. There's no way in hell that you cannot like Unicorn. She's just the sweetest thing, and she just so happened to be older than all of us, but she was just one of those personalities, like, you can't be mad at her. Like, she doesn't have a mean bone in her body. So after Becky and Susie fought or whatever, everyone kind of ostracized Becky except for Unicorn. Unicorn was still trying to, you know, at least be on that like hello hi basis with Becky, but she was closer to Susie. Sydney started to plant little bugs in everyone's ear, saying like little bugs, and eventually everyone ended up ostracizing Unicorn because she was still trying to have a relationship with Becky. Could see her, I could see it happening. Like, it's wild looking back at it, how I could see her doing it. She was ostracizing Unicorn, and Unicorn ended up, because she felt the pressure from everyone in the group after everyone stopped talking to her as well, she just kind of cut off Becky, even though I knew that she genuinely liked Becky and she still wanted a relationship with her, but she just cut Becky off just to not, you know, have issues or drama with anybody, because she is such a sweetheart. She just doesn't like stuff like that, stresses her out. And y'all, pretty much after that, the whole friend group just like split, and it was all because of stuff that Sydney started. Pretty much that was basically the core of the issue. It was Sydney, and my friend Brittany, the one that you know brought me into the group, Sydney and Brittany started to hang out, and the only reason that Sydney was even hanging out with Brittany was to make me jealous, because she saw that I was getting closer with other people and the other girls in the group, and she wanted to make me jealous. But what she failed to realize was I didn't care. Like, I was glad she was making other friends besides me, so she didn't have to be up my butthole 24/7. And I was glad she was making other friends, so I wasn't even jealous. But she would like send little text messages and be like, oh yeah, we're going to the mall, me and Brittany are going to the mall, blah blah blah, and just little petty childish stuff like that. And so pretty much eventually those two ostracized themselves from the group. Like I said, the group split up when Sydney joined, basically. So those two ostracized themselves, and eventually me and Sydney did not speak.